Hello everybody, this is Kostas and welcome to your 20-second Photoshop tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to talk a little bit more about layers. And let's just have a look at what I made over here. Well, as you can see, this is pretty much a silly collage of images, but the first layer is actually the sun over here. The second layer is actually a text layer and it says Santorini sunset. And the third layer is this box, gray box around the text. Now let's just go ahead and look at the locks over here. This is our first priority. And well, basically what the locks do is they allow you to lock different aspects of your layers. So you might want to do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, a lot of people use it in order to indicate that they're finished editing the layer, because whenever you click at one of those locks, a little lock pops up and they just know this way that they've finished editing. Now the other reason you might want to do it is because you don't want to accidentally go ahead and start editing a layer that you did not intend to and then have to go all the way back and redo everything. And this happens to me a lot because I don't have the habit of using locks, and basically a lot of people don't, but it's just a personal choice. Let's just go ahead and see how those locks work. Now the first lock is actually going to lock the transparent pixels and you're not going to be able to paint on them. So if I try to use the paint tool to paint on them, I'm not able to do that, but I can actually paint on the sun because the pixels on the sun are not transparent, so I can paint on it. But as you can see, it prevents me from painting on transparent pixels. So let's just go ahead and undo that. Now the second lock that you get right here does not allow you to paint anywhere on the canvas basically, and that's why you get this cursor. And if I try to paint, I get this warning message saying, you know, dude, you cannot paint, you've already locked your layer. Now let's just click OK. Now the third option, if you use the move tool up here at the top, you usually can move your layer, but the third option stops you from doing that. It doesn't allow you to actually move the layer anywhere. So if I try to move it, I get the same warning message saying, you know, Photoshop doesn't let you move this because you've locked it. And you can see that the same lock appears over here at the background layer. And basically that is because the background layer cannot be moved. If I try to move it, I get this warning message. And that's how they represent it using this lock. It's just the same thing. But remember that you cannot go ahead and just click over here at a lock and unlock this background layer. You have to turn it into a layer from a background, just as we did in the previous tutorial, in order to be able to edit it. So let's just go ahead over here and see the final lock. Now, the final lock looks a little bit darker if I click on it. And that is because it's called a full lock, and it basically fully locks your layer. It does not allow you to paint on it, it does not allow you to move it, and it does not allow you to change the opacity, fill, and blending options off it. So that just fully locks your layer and prevents you from basically editing it in any way. So let's just go ahead and select that. Now as you can see, this box over here looks quite ugly, so let's just go ahead and try using the opacity options to make it a little bit better. And the opacity basically sets how transparent or opaque a layer is. So the lower the value, the more transparent the layer is, and the higher the value, the more opaque it is. So if I just set this to about 50%, and you can just type this in there, that's going to be just fine. Now a nice little trick to know is how to actually set the value of any field that has a slider just like this one. That's all over Photoshop. You can do that anywhere in Photoshop. If you go over the name of the form field, you get this cursor over here with the two arrows, and you can just click and drag to one or the other side in order to set the value that you want. So that's just a nice way to do it. You know, it saves you a lot of time. Now the fill opacity option right here is basically going to be the same in this case, and the only difference is that it does not affect the layer styles. And we're going to see what layer styles are later on, but that's the only difference from opacity. Fill opacity does not affect layer styles. So I guess in most cases for you guys it's going to be the same, but remember that, keep that in mind, it does not affect layer styles. And let's go ahead and see how to group layers together. And to do that, you just have to click on this little icon, this folder icon. So what that does is it creates a layer group, and you can just select a couple of layers, a bunch of layers, using the control button, and just click on the layers you want to select. And let's just drag those onto our group, and you can see it creates those this indentation, and it basically puts them in the group. So if I would just click on this little arrow, you can just hide them and show them. So what that is for is only for organization purposes. It's just to organize your layers better. It's just like organizing files in a computer. where it does not change anything. You just have them more organized. It's just the same thing, you know. A lot of people don't use those folders, those groups, just because it doesn't make much difference. So let's just go ahead and give it a name by double clicking on it, and let's just name it sign maybe. Now you can also double click on any layer to give it a name. Let's just do that. Box, and that's actually quite important because whenever you have like 10 or more layers, you can actually double click on them, give them a name, and you're going to be much easier to locate the layer that you want to edit. Because when you have like a lot of layers, it's going to save you a lot of time if you find the one you want. And I've noticed it a lot of times because I don't always give names to the layers. So whenever I have a lot of layers, it's really hard to edit your image if you don't have names for each one of them. It's really hard to just look at the icons and, you know, decide which layer is which. Now let's just go ahead and delete the folder using the trash icon. The trash icon, whenever you see it in most tabs, is going to delete things, so just keep that in mind. Now I could also delete layers using the trash icon, but I don't want to right now, so let's just go ahead and click on the trash icon to delete this folder. This group basically, and it says, do you want to delete the group and the contents, basically the layers, or do you just want to delete the folder? So I just want to delete the folder, and the layers are intact. Now the final thing I want to show you is how to link layers, and you can just use the control button to select 2 layers or more. You can just click on whichever layers you want, and then you just click on this first icon, that link chain over here, and you can see that those 2 layers that were selected get links changed as well. So what that means is that whenever you actually move one of them or transform one of them, they're both gonna do the same thing. So if I were to just move one of the layers right now, let's just select one layer, and if I were to just move it, they would both move together because they're actually linked to one another. And that's just a good way to do it because, you know, otherwise if I were to just move the text and then the box, what would happen is that they wouldn't fall in the same position relative to each other as they are now. So you wouldn't want that. Now to unlink them, just click on this little icon again, and they're just unlinked. That was it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.